The basics for any business to be in business is having something to offer. This can be a product or a service or a combination of the two. Whether the things we sell come from vendors or are offered initially by our own company as unique creations, the need to have them entered into QuickBooks so that they can be tracked and so they're available as items on estimates and invoices for our customers is essential. The first step is to enable inventory functions in our company file if it wasn't turned on as part of our setup process. This is done through Preferences. We can simply move up to the upper left-hand part of the screen, activate the Edit menu, and come all the way down to the bottom. When we click or tap the Preferences option, the Preferences window opens. On the left-hand side, we see categories, one of which, about halfway down or so, is called Items in Inventory. Now, from the top middle of the screen, we need to activate the Company Preferences tab, and here we see a check mark that says Inventory and Purchase Orders are active. If this is disabled, we need to check it. This is what gives us the opportunity to work with inventory as well as purchase orders in our QuickBooks Company file. There are a couple of options that are also worth looking at while we're here. One is to warn if there are duplicate purchase order numbers for a particular vendor, or if we want to be warned if not enough inventory is on hand when we try to sell something. Both of those are usually good ideas, and they are on or enabled by default. Another interesting option is under the Units of Measure. This actually says multiple units of measure per item. We also can have single units of measure for an item, or we can disable this feature. This allows us to purchase and or sell items in different quantities. For example, an individual bottle of something versus a case, an individual item, or a gross. In the Pro version with the company file, this is already set, just like our inventory options, for multiple unit of measure per item. Once we review these and they're set the way we want, we can simply click OK on the top right of the screen, and now we can get back to work. We've discussed options for adding and updating vendors in our video on that topic. We also covered everything about how to work with lists and items in general in our Understanding Company Lists chapter. Now we just need to review the product-specific fields that are unique to this particular QuickBooks component. We can work with our items list by using the List menu at the top of the screen, but we also can use the Homepage Navigator. If we move to the far right-hand side, under the Company category, we see an icon for Items and Services, and we can give this a click or a tap. We can go ahead and maximize this window and see that this is providing us a list of all of the items that we have in our QuickBooks Company file. This includes not only products that we sell, inventory, but also services we offer and even non-inventory parts. To create something new in a list like this, we have a couple of options, one of which is to simply right-click anywhere in the list and choose New. This displays the item form, and the first thing we need to make sure that we do is select the right type of item from the top left of the screen. This can be a service, an inventory part, a non-inventory part, some other type of charge, a subtotal, a group, a discount, a payment, a sales tax item, or a sales tax group. Many of these are covered in their own topics. We're going to go ahead, though, and work with an inventory part. The inventory part is going to have many more fields than any of the other types. For example, if we offered a service, then we would not need to know about purchase information because services aren't purchased from a vendor. Okay, with our item type selected, now we can get to our details. The first thing we need is an item name or number. This can be alphanumeric and up to about 30 or 31 characters or so. And remember, this is the item number that we want to use in our company. There's a place for the manufacturer's part number to the right. This is where some naming conventions might be helpful. We're going to be entering information about basically an electrical outlet that also has USB connections. We're going to call it a 2-gang, 2 USB in black. If we were using categories, we could make this a sub-item. For example, if we had created an item that was a category, such as electrical outlets, we could make this particular one a sub-item of that. As we said, on the right-hand side, we can put in a manufacturer's part number. The manufacturer's part number is actually important because it's printed on purchase orders that go to our vendors that supply us with this product. It helps ensure that we receive the correct item from the manufacturer. If we were working with unit of measure sets, which is more commonly used in the Enterprise Edition, then we could pick a set. For example, that we have to buy these as a gross or a case, but we sell them individually. Now we get to the purchase information. We have an option to put in the description on purchase transactions as well as a description on sales transactions. Generally speaking, the purchase is going to be something that a manufacturer would understand and appreciate, whereas the sales transaction is going to be something that our customers would appreciate, usually something that's spelled out in plain English. We'll go ahead and enter a quick description. If we know and use a standard cost, that is the cost to us from our vendor, we can enter that here. And then we can also attribute purchases of this item from vendors to a particular COGS account. Generally, we only have one, but we could select a different one if the general COGS account was not correct. If we have one preferred vendor, we can select that vendor from a preferred vendor list. We're going to choose AAA Interior Supplies. This name will automatically be added to purchase orders. But once again, when we create a purchase order, we can choose any vendor that we want from our list. Don't forget that this has to do with ordering, but on the right-hand side, we can also enter any variety of information we want as it will relate to sales. So if we're going to purchase this for $3.28, maybe we sell it to our customers for an even $6. This again can be changed when we create estimates and invoices. The tax code field simply designates if this item is taxable or not. In most places, something that is not taxable would be something like foodstuff. But that depends on your local taxing jurisdiction, and you need to check to make sure that you're collecting sales tax appropriately. Finally, for our sales, we can indicate an income account, just like we indicated a COGS account when we made the purchase. This is something that is part of construction income, but specifically, it's for materials that we used. Take a deep breath because we're almost done, but the last section has to do with inventory information. When we purchase inventory items, they get added to an inventory asset account. Your company may have a more complicated chart of accounts, but for us, all of our inventory is simply in a single account called inventory asset. If you want to be able to know when you need to order items, you should enter a reorder point value. This allows QuickBooks to create a reminder for us if our inventory falls below the designated quantity. At that time, we can order more. If we receive this product fairly quickly when we order, we might set this number a bit lower so that we don't tie up cash in inventory that's going to sit on the shelf. Likewise, if we have challenges or delays in getting the item, set the reorder limit higher so that we can be sure that we always have enough on hand. QuickBooks Premier and Enterprise also have a max box where we can enter the maximum quantity that you want to have after reordering. For our business, the minimum that we want to keep and the time that we want to make sure that we reorder is going to be 12. Then, if we want, we can enter a maximum, which is where we can enter the quantity that we want to have after we reorder. The next few fields have to do with entering the current status of our inventory. This can be done only when we first create an item. After that, we'll need to use inventory tools to make adjustments. Obviously, the number that we currently have on hand, the total value of that inventory, and the date are important for QuickBooks to be able to make calculations. If you're a brand new company and you don't have any on hand, then of course we can leave all of these at 0. Last thing before we're done is to recognize that at the top right of this particular window, there is a place where we can add notes. This is a wonderful feature that allows us to do just that, to keep notes about anything having to do with this particular product. It even allows us to add a date and time stamp so we can keep a chronology of when certain notes were added. We'll go ahead and say OK, and remember that that's there if we ever need to keep any information about not only our items, but we can also do this for things like customers and vendors as well. With everything entered, we can click OK. And it's very nice that even though we did have a spelling option on the right, QuickBooks is going to run a spell check for us anyway. It's always a good idea, especially when it's about putting things onto purchase orders and customer correspondence, that we make sure that everything is spelled correctly. For now, we'll go ahead and simply close this, and our item is now added to our items list. It really is worth investing some time in getting items set up correctly and completely. They form the basis of most of our activities in QuickBooks. Investing time to meticulously work through them with all of the detail that's required will save time later on and make all of your activities easier, more efficient, and actually more accurate as well. It's all about making sure that we can manage the products that we need to sell to our customers as well as to run our business. That'll leave your focus and your energies available for other activities, like promoting your business or maybe even having just a little bit of time for yourself once in a while.